Welcome to Mr. Giant Reacts and Ting and Ting and Ting. I'm Mr. Giant, back with another video for you, back with another reaction. And we're going to look at something here that is intriguing me. The biggest lie about the Bosnian ancient pyramid exposed. You understand what I'm saying? So there's a thing with it saying there's pyramids in there. There's people against it. There's people about it. Yeah, there are people for it to take, I'm intrigued, what I mean? So I want to see what the vibe is here. So I found this video here and we're going to look at it, But before we do that, there's a tool that can help you with your internet security and privacy. It's called NordVPN. I will leave a link in the description. You can go check it out. If you do decide to get NordVPN, I will get a commission. If you do get NordVPN. Let's go ahead and YouTube and simmer and check out what this vibe is here.
In October 2005, a man with an economics degree told people in Bosnia he had found the oldest pyramids on Earth. Scientists called it a cruel hoax. True believers called it the discovery of the century. But the biggest lie about Bosnia's ancient pyramids is one neither side will admit, that a real 7,000-year-old archaeological landscape is being destroyed while both camps fight over the wrong question. In October 2005, the sleepy town of Visoko, 40 kilometers from Sarajevo, found itself at the center of a global sensation. Semir Osmanagic, a Bosnian-American businessman with a background in economics, not archaeology, stood before reporters and declared that the hills around Visoko were not hills at all, but the world's oldest and largest pyramids. He spoke with the confidence of a man unveiling a secret lost for thousands of years. The story landed on the front page of Dnevni Avaz, Bosnia's biggest daily, and within days, international outlets from ABC to Reuters were echoing the claim. Osmanagic's credentials raised eyebrows. His academic record listed degrees in economics and political science from the University of Sarajevo and a doctorate in sociology of history focusing on the Maya, but no archaeological training. Still, he had already built a reputation as a globe-trotting author, publishing books about pyramids, Atlantis, and lost civilizations. To his supporters, he was a visionary, and to skeptics, a self-promoter chasing headlines. The Bosnian government didn't hesitate. Prime Minister Nedzad Brankovic and presidency member Sulejman Tajic offered public support, even as the country's own Ministry of Culture hesitated to grant excavation permits. Brankovic overruled objections, clearing the way for Osmanagic's foundation to start digging. The hillsides of Visoko filled with volunteers, and the town's population swelled as tourists poured in. By 2007, estimates put annual visitors in the hundreds of thousands, transforming Visoko into a pilgrimage site for believers, curiosity seekers, and celebrities alike.
There goes another quiet
Novak
town.
Djokovic, the tennis star, would eventually visit 7 times, meditating in the tunnels and praising the site's mysterious energy. For a brief moment, it seemed Bosnia had found...
Is it really mysterious, or people just looking for something? And normally, somebody think it's mysterious. It's like a subliminal type of message coming from the idea of the situation happening. And I'm not saying it's not mysterious. I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying? You know how people are.
Not just a tourist attraction, but a new national myth. Within months of the pyramid announcement, the scientific community responded with rare unanimity. In December 2006, the European Association of Archaeologists issued a formal statement condemning the project as a cruel hoax on an unsuspecting public. The letter, signed by the heads of 7 major archaeological institutions, warned that the ongoing excavations threatened to destroy genuine cultural heritage in the Visoko Valley. Anthony Harding, then president of the association, described the claims as absurd and criticized the Bosnian government for allowing untrained volunteers to dig through layers that might contain real historical evidence.
If there's a bunch of untrained people out there digging, it's like forensic evidence on a crime scene. You know what I mean? They deteriorating evidence of anything in there, and even if there is things there, they could be trampling stuff. You know what I'm saying? Wow, that's crazy to have all these untrained people in there. They should take the time and do it. You know what I mean? Because hey, a lot of these things that we know now, they believed it years ago before we were around, but it took years and years of meticulous, uh, you know, excavation and stuff to come about. Do you know what I'm saying? So I can understand the concern here.
Bosnian geologists moved quickly to investigate. At a press conference in Tuzla in May 2006, Professor Sej Fuden Vrebak and his team from the University of Tuzla presented their findings. They explained that Visoko Hill, the so-called Pyramid of the Sun, was a textbook example of a flat iron, a natural landform created by the erosion of tilted layers of sedimentary rock deposited during the Miocene epoch, millions of years ago. The sharp angles and regular slopes that Osmanagic called pyramid faces were, in geological terms, the predictable result of differential erosion acting on clastic sediments of varying thickness. The Tuzla team pointed to dozens of similar formations across the Bosnian basin, none of which had ever been mistaken for ancient monuments. Their conclusion was unequivocal. There was no evidence of human construction, no signs of ancient engineering, and no justification for the ongoing excavations. For scientists, the matter was settled. But outside academic circles, the controversy was only just beginning.
Is it me, or have you noticed that nobody wants to believe scientists anymore? We as human beings, like we took scientists seriously, and they were some sort of a mysterious group of people. You know what I mean? Now they call them academics. You know what I mean? Which makes it sort of a taboo type things. You know, people just don't want to believe science anymore. You know what I mean? It's kind of like a going backwards to like a time when people don't didn't really know about science, so they create myths and stuff. And I'm not just talking about this situation, but in general, you know, people just don't want to believe science and the scientists anymore. Comment down below if you notice a trend like that's going. A scientist will say this will happen if we do this, and people would be go, oh no, not really, and they'll question them, and then boom, the thing happened, and they go, oh, did we not know? Well, they told you it was coming. I don't know
Fresh
what's
carvings
going on.
appeared on tunnel walls almost as soon as the excavations began. In 2006, Boston University geologist Robert Schoch spent 10 days at the site examining the so-called pyramid features up close. He reported tool marks that cut sharply through layers of sediment, still bright and unweathered. Some inscriptions presented as ancient runes or symbols looked suspiciously crisp, too recent to have survived centuries in the damp underground. Naja Nukic, the project's own geologist, told the magazine B.H. Dani that many of these carvings were freshly made. A Foundation worker later admitted to Smithsonian reporters that he and others had carved letters into the tunnels for fun. The pattern extended beyond the tunnels. Conference programs and press releases listed foreign.
See, that's what happens when you have untrained people in there. They start doing stuff like that. Why would you do that? Why would you carve stuff into the stones there? You know what I mean? Messing with the evidence that something was there. Why would you do that? That don't make any sense, man.
Archaeologists as project collaborators, but several of those named denied ever visiting Bosnia. At an international archaeology meeting, Egypt's former antiquities chief Zahi Hawass dismissed the pyramid claims as absurd, calling the evidence false and the project a distraction from real science.
Of course, Egypt would say
By
it's
then, the
false.
story had drifted far from the ground beneath Visoko. Forensic traces such as tool marks, modern inscriptions, and misattributed experts chipped away at the credibility of the pyramid narrative.
You know, of course, Egypt would say it's false because they have a lock on the pyramids themselves. You know, tourists is always going there. You understand what I mean? They are known for that stuff. You know, they're gonna refute any claims of it being
remained
anywhere
unclear
else.
was whether anything genuine lay beneath the layers of modern invention. The question was no longer just about what had been discovered, but about what might be lost or overlooked in the rush to rewrite Bosnia's past. Deep beneath the fields outside Visoko, the Ravne tunnels snake through nearly 2.5 kilometers of sandstone and
See, there's
conglomerate.
something there.
Volunteers have cleared passageways that twist and branch, some wide enough to walk upright, others forcing a crouch. Along these walls, diggers have discovered fragments of pottery, animal bones, and the soot-blackened remains of a 17th century oil lamp. Yet, for all the attention given to pyramid claims above ground, the tunnels themselves have never been the subject of a full, independent archaeological survey.
Oh, wow. So
Technical
there is some
teams brought
stuff
in by
down
the
there.
Foundation have mapped out anomalies using ground-penetrating radar. In 2006, the German firm LGA Botechnik scanned over 10,000 square meters, identifying 44 separate subsurface irregularities. Their charts show clusters of voids and dense material, some described as rectangular chambers or passages, unlike the surrounding geology. But these results have never appeared in a peer-reviewed journal. No neutral geologist or archaeologist has published a comprehensive study of the tunnel's age, their construction, or the true nature of these anomalies. For all the noise above ground, the most intriguing questions remain below. Are the tunnels natural fissures, ancient mines, or something else entirely?
Wow.
Without open data and scientific scrutiny,
crazy.
the Ravne Labyrinth remains an open file, one that both sides of the pyramid debate seem content to leave unexamined. Curiosity lingers, even as the focus shifts to what's being lost in the shadow of the controversy. Broken pottery, scattered across the slopes of Visoko, tells a story that rarely makes headlines. Museum director Mirko Babic gathered dozens of medieval ceramic sherds from illicit trenches dug near the old fortress walls, evidence of layers disturbed in the search for something grander. Official reports describe topsoil stripped away, castle masonry chipped, and centuries-old artifacts left exposed to the elements. These were not the marks of careful science, but of a race to uncover a myth. The damage did not stop at objects. In November 2005, Osmanagic's own geological notes recorded the discovery of human bones wedged between sandstone plates. Soon after, he denied any necropolis existed on the hill, erasing the remains from the public story. Skeptics who tried to intervene met resistance. In April 2007, Zilka Kujundžić-Vezagić, an expert on the Neolithic Butmir culture, arrived with colleagues to inspect the site. They were physically barred by Foundation staff, and days later she was shoved from a tram in Sarajevo by a stranger who called her an enemy of Bosnia. The cost of controversy was measured not only in lost history, but in threats to those who tried to protect it. In the space between myth and science,
Wow, it got that
something more
serious
powerful
too?
than facts or fakes keeps the Visoko pyramid story alive. The Visoko Valley sits at the heart of the ancient Butmir cultural zone, where Neolithic communities left traces dating back more than 7,000 years. Yet, as the pyramid debate rages, this authentic heritage fades from public view, overshadowed by spectacle. For many in post-war Bosnia, the pyramids offer more than tourism. They promise a new national identity, a narrative to heal wounds left by conflict. Politicians, eager to harness this energy, have funded festivals and media campaigns, turning Visoko into a symbol of resilience. Meanwhile, the wellness economy has flourished. Retreats in the Ravne tunnels advertise spiritual healing and energy fields, with packages running up to $1,900 per week. Visitors come from across Europe and beyond, drawn by stories of ancient mysteries and personal transformation. This convergence of cultural longing and economic opportunity has locked the controversy in place. As long as the binary holds, with believers and debunkers locked in argument, the real archaeological treasures of the Butmir landscape remain neglected, their significance drowned out by a battle that serves everyone except the past. Right now, while myths spark headlines, Visoko's real archaeological treasures face neglect and damage. The loudest arguments leave ancient history unprotected, risking a loss that is irreversible. Sometimes the greatest danger is not what we invent, but what we allow to disappear.
Wow. So there is something there. No, here's the thing. Let's look at it this way. If there is something there of an ancient civilization, maybe that civilization lived among these things. They found it because back then people used to live in caves and stuff like that, way back when. before they start building houses and stuff like that. So maybe that's a civilization that was there. Now here's another twist to what I think. That's just me. Did they just occupy a previous civilization's place? You know what I mean? They went up there through that valley and they say, hey, wait, other people used to live here. So in essence, they living there sort of destroyed the forensic evidence of the people who were living before them. So I'm just babbling here. I'm not for or against this. But if they say that they are finding, pottery and there's still some authentic scribblings down below, then there was a civilization there. And if they have been blocked from going in there, and there is untrained people they excavating and doing all of that, they're destroying another story. They're destroying another civilization. And who is to say that that didn't happen in other ancient excavation things? You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, do we really know? Is where I'm going from it. You know what I mean? Who is disseminating the information? What are their motives? Yeah, you know what I'm saying and thing. And it also begs another question: what does it really help in these times if it were pyramids? I know we have this mysticism towards pyramids and stuff like that because right now there's people going on retreats there. There's like, cleansing this, and everybody's doing all of that stuff there. Maybe that stuff work, maybe they don't, but that's a big argument there. Comment in the comments section and tell me what you think of all of this. You know what I mean? Because there's just this massive debate going on, which is kind of cool. You know what I mean? And the resistance to the scientists. What do you think of that? You know, because what are the scientists' motives for saying, "Oh, it's just a rock formation"? It's not really pyramids. You know, what is their motivation for saying that? You know what I mean? And if there's empirical evidence that it's just a rock formation, which is what they're saying, because the Bosnian Valley have several of these, and nobody said that they're pyramids before. But obviously, there's something there. Are we going to get the truth, or is it going to be like this big debate and stuff like that? Why wouldn't my man let real archaeologists go in there and really do a dig and see what's going on? You know what I'm saying? Or what are they doing with the artifacts that they found? You know what I mean? What's going on over there? This is really intriguing, man. This was really intriguing. I hope you guys enjoyed this reaction. Comment down below. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you hear, and especially if you live in Bosnia, tell me what's going on there. In the meantime, man, y'all take care of each other. Let's try to bring some peace in this world, okay?